Hello everybody and welcome to my channel again. In today's video I want to say a few words about hiking in the Italian Alps and about some possible ways of sleeping for free in various places. This is the area where I normally go every summer, so I know the situation quite well. Now, there are at least three types of buildings or shelters where you can stay either completely free, or you can simply put some money in the box that you normally have attached on the wall. So the first is winter rooms in the regular huts. The second is in alpine bivouacs, and finally there are incredibly many shelters built and maintained by local groups and communities. It's important to say that in all three of them you don't have guardians, and I would say that it's best to avoid weekends and holidays, because such places could be crowded. So let me say a few words about each of them. Winter rooms in regular huts. So if you check on maps for the Italian Alps, regular huts are always with the name Rifugio, and some of them can be privately owned, family-run mountain huts, or they can belong to alpine associations and organizations. And in some of the private huts you don't have winter rooms, so it's best to check in advance. Those that are run by alpine organizations usually have, I think practically always have, some sort of winter room. So the meaning of this winter room is that you can use it outside of full season, which is typically period July, August and September. So in all other months, in principle, you will have an emergency shelter where you can stay the night. In many of them you don't have really any sign for this, so you have to look around behind the building, try the doors, and some of them will probably be open, and you will realize that this is a dormitory where you can sleep. So in some cases you can even have a separate building outside where such a winter room is located. And one example I give here from my tour to Jofuort 2 years ago. So this Guido Corsi Rifugio was closed, and this is the building behind the hut where you have winter room, and this is view inside. There are 6 beds, if I remember correctly, and as you realize from the picture, there is even bedding, and mattresses are there, and pillows and blankets. So you can definitely stay there and feel quite comfortable. Of course, it's always best to have your own sleeping bag, so you can sleep on such a bed, and if you are cold you can use the blankets that are there. But it's essential that you actually have your own sleeping bag. Sometimes there are no mattresses, and in these cases you might want to have a sleeping pad. I can say I was sleeping in such places without mattress, just wood surface, not so pleasant, but of course you will survive. Another thing is another type of shelters where you can stay for free are alpine bivouacs, and this is how they typically look. These are metal containers. They are usually at high elevations, so quite cold, I would say, and of course there are no any heating equipment there. But sometimes, like in this case, this is Bivacco del Piero on Monte Cofinale, you can have a gas stove. And this box here that you see in front of the shelter is actually the box where there are some gas bottles and the cooker is inside. So in such places you always have mattresses and plenty of blankets, so you will survive, of course. They are usually in this orange-red color, so you can notice them from distance. Normally, I don't remember that any of them has some box where you can put money. So I would say these are really places where you can stay for completely free, and you are not obliged to leave any money. Now, the third group that I mentioned are the shelters built by and maintained by some local groups and communities. If you really search for this, you will be astonished how many of these shelters are available in the Italian mountains. It's simply incredible. You have them everywhere. Of course, you have to know what you are looking for. Sometimes you don't actually realize that this is a shelter where you can stay the night. So in many of them you will have a wood burning stove and sometimes even a gas stove together. And I have seen one example where there was even a place where you can have open fire in one part of the building. Then you have dishes for cooking and tables and benches, and normally you will always have some place for sleeping with beds and mattresses, and also or some wood platforms if nothing else. Then they can have blankets. Most of them have blankets. And sometimes at lower elevations you can even have running water inside. Now, in many of them you will have some box on the wall where you can leave some money, and this is normally there is some inscription offerte, which means offers, so nobody can force you, but you will appreciate such places, and perhaps you will want to give some money to leave it out in the box. Even some very popular areas like Livigno, I myself was surprised when I realized that there are at least 5 of these shelters that are so close to the streets and main roads. They are within 1 hour of walk from the road. And I have seen at least 5 of them, and all of them have a wood stove inside, and I think at least 4 of them have beds and blankets. Perhaps only one, if I remember correctly, was without beds. But all of them have wood stoves. And probably the most beautiful example is this one on the lake, just below the summit of Monte Breva. This is a shelter built by some local community, and as you realize from this picture, it is far above the tree layer, but there is a wood stove inside and there is wood available, which means somebody is really taking care about this and brings the wood here. And of course here you have a box on the wall, and when we stayed there for a few hours because of the rain, we found even a coffee, and we used, of course, the stove, and of course we felt obliged to put some money in the box which was on the wall. So remember, this is Livigno, which is anyway quite expensive area if you want to rent something and do some hiking around. But as I said, there are many places you can stay here. for small money or even for free. There are even some shelters that belong to this same group that are built and maintained by local groups and communities, but they are quite specific, special, I would say. And this is one of the best examples. This is Bivacco Battaglione Ortles, which is near Punta San Matteo and Tresero area. So you can reach it from, get to this place from Gavia Pass. And the cabin that you see here was actually built from the material left after the First World War. And when I was there, I made a fire. There is a wood stove inside, and I used the wood that was around everywhere from the First World War. Can you believe this? It's still available, and there is a lot of it. This whole range was actually the front line, and you can see there is a lot of barbed wire everywhere and trenches from the First World War. And another, I would say the most spectacular example is this Bivacco Luca Ueric, which is, I can show you the top picture here in the post, which is exactly on the summit of a mountain. Beautiful building, it looks great from outside and from inside, and you see how it is inside. You have mattresses, blankets, pillows and everything, and it's always open, of course. This building was built by the family of a climber who was killed by avalanche on some nearby mountain, and there is a box here for offers. So if you stay the night here, you would want to support them, because somebody must maintain this place. So this is all I wanted to say here. I plan to add many more texts on this topic here within in this site. So stay tuned, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.